Hello and welcome to One Tech World. My name is Sheena Yapchan. I'm super excited to be here today to be one of your speakers and also the topic that I love to talk about, which is confidence, which is so needed in tech, especially since there's still a huge gap when it comes to having more women leaders, women tech leaders. And for me, it's so important. So today's topic is called Visible Leadership, Helping Women in Tech Lead with Clarity, Confidence, and Influence. So I'm super excited to share this with you today, and I hope you enjoy it. And I also hope you enjoy all the other talks, all the amazing talks that's happening today. I'm just really excited to be and honored to be one of the speakers. So let me just quickly share my screen and also and make it bigger. And so this is the topic today, visible leadership, helping women in tech lead with clarity, confidence, and influence. So let's get started. So why does this conversation still matter, right? Even in 2026, many women in tech struggle to be fully seen and fully heard. Fast-moving environments reward visibility, not just competence. Also, leadership potential is often overlooked when presence and influence aren't clear. So the key message here is talent alone isn't enough. I know a lot of us have been taught if you work hard, the results speak for yourself, but that's not always the case, right? Sometimes when you work hard, you're just seen as a hard worker. You're not seen as leadership material. And so it is important to show up to share what you've been able to achieve, to share what you've been able to do, because it helps us have more women in tech, more women leaders in tech, and show our future generation what's possible as well. So if you've ever felt, invisible or were afraid to speak up, today's the day where that all changes, and I'll share some things that I've done to help also speak up and be the representation that I love to be. So here's some common challenges that women in tech face, and I think this is really important because we don't really talk about the challenges we face, and we're not taught to talk about it, right? But if we don't talk about it, we don't find solutions to them. And this actually goes beyond tech as well. A lot of women in different industries also goes through some of these similar challenges, but I wanted to share with them so that you don't feel like you're alone. So here's some of the common challenges. So your ideas are ignored or credited to others, maybe the hesitation to speak up in senior or cross-functional rooms, the pressure to be likable and decisive at the same time, imposter feelings despite strong track records. So you're not imagining it. These are real patterns, and especially when it comes to the hesitation to speak up in senior or cross-functional rooms. I've spoken to a lot of women where, they're afraid to raise their hand up because they feel like the idea they have might sound stupid or might get rejected. And so they don't put their hand up because of it. And they also tell me that the person beside them has said the same exact idea and was praised for it. So this is why for me it's so important to help you speak up, to share those ideas, because I know sometimes in our own mind, we think it doesn't sound as great, or we're afraid that someone might think it's not as great, but really it could be the total opposite. They might love that idea. And I'd rather that idea come from you, speak up, and raise your hand up than somebody else. So don't be afraid to share that idea, put your hand up, speak your ideas. Sometimes I even start with this may sound stupid and then share that idea anyway. So it's also imposters feelings is something we all go through, right? They mentioned that 74% of women in the workforce deal with imposter syndrome. So a lot of us deal with it, and even including myself, I always felt like I wasn't good enough or there's someone better out there. Like I doubted myself a lot. And so we all go through that. And it's important to share these so we can find ways to overcome it or heal it and move forward to be the best leader that we're meant to be. So, what does visible leadership really mean? Here's some of the things that it means. So, the first one is communicating with clarity and intention, showing confidence through presence and preparation, influencing decisions and direction, practicing strategic self-promotion tied to impact, and being known and recognized for the value you create. And I think it's so important, especially for women, to be seen, to be visible as leaders, because it helps us create the next generation of tech leaders. I remember last year I spoke at a girls' tech conference. So I think they were about grade 6 to 8 and maybe some in high school. And it was really great to see these girls like dream big, right? When you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? There was one girl who mentioned, I want to create robots. I want to do this in tech. I want to do that in tech. And, for me, that's great because if it wasn't for women that are here, we wouldn't be able to help the next generation see what's possible. And this is why visible leadership is so important because it shows the next generation what's possible. We can create, a new generation of women in tech leaders, and it's so needed now more than ever. I know sometimes it's not always easy to speak up, to share our voice, to be visible, but if we don't show up ourselves, then nothing changes, right? I always believe change starts with ourselves, and it's important to show up even when it's scary, right? Even when you're sweaty palms, stuttering, doubting yourself. This is all part of leadership, right? And we're doing this for a greater good. We're doing this because we want to show, especially this next generation, what's possible. So this is what visible leadership means. So I wanted to share this framework. It's called the Visible Framework. It's a framework that I've created. It's based on 7 pillars and it's also from the word visible. So each letter represents something. And this is a practical human-centered model for leadership presence. So I'll share each and every letter and what they mean. So if you see here, there is the word visible and what each letter means. So V is for voice. So it's about how you communicate and assert ideas. I is for identity, how you see yourself as a leader. S is for spotlight, how your work and expertise are positioned. I is for inner work, managing mindset, resilience, and imposter feelings. B is for belief, confidence in your value and the right to lead. L is for leverage, using relationships, strengths, and systems strategically. And then E is for elevation, growing impact across teams and levels. So this is a little introduction to the visible framework. This is a framework that I've shared in many different conferences, talks from different industries, and it's great when people come up to me and tell me how much this framework has really helped them in their own careers and their own journey. So I wanted to share the same thing to you, and I've spoken about this framework as well at many different tech industries, conferences. So I'm going to go deeper for each letter and I'll share a little bit more on that. So V is for voice, speaking with clarity and authority, right? Here's some things that you could do. Decide your point of view before you speak. Lead with the main idea, then add context. Use direct language and limit unnecessary qualifiers. State your idea early so it anchors the discussion. So, the third one that I mentioned, which is use direct language and limit unnecessary qualifiers, that was a big one for me because I always felt like I had to over explain every single thing so that people can understand, when really I just need to be direct and simple. And I know people will understand, right? I think sometimes I just doubted myself. I felt like I needed to over explain just to prove to others that I was capable, but really we just need to be direct, keep it super simple, and avoid all the unnecessary qualifiers. So if you've ever gone through that, you're not the only one. I've been through it. And also the last one that I mentioned, which is state your idea early so it anchors the discussion. This is so important. Like I mentioned, right? If you're not sharing your ideas at the meetings, at the big meetings, someone else might say the same exact idea and be praised for it. And I want you to get credit for it. I know you have, you know, all these amazing ideas that you want to share. And sometimes you get super scared. Maybe it's from, your upbringing, your culture, whatever that may be. And so, sometimes we have to learn to work through it so we can show up and be the leader that we're meant to be, especially, 2026. I know we still go through a lot of, issues, especially for women worldwide. And this is why speaking up, sharing our voice is so important now more than ever. So here's an example that I wanted to share with you when it comes to speaking and communicating. So the example is instead of saying, I'm not sure, but maybe, you can totally replace it with, based on the data, I recommend dot, dot, dot. So whatever that may be, maybe you recommend a new idea, a new process, whatever like that idea is, feel free to utilize this sentence instead. So I is for identity. It's owning your leadership role, right? So confidence comes from alignment, not perfection. Shift from doer to decision maker. Let go of the need to prove constantly. I know it's easier said than done, especially when it comes to perfection, because we are not taught to be, imperfect. We're always, especially for women, right? There's just so much judgment, so much pressure, this need to be perfect. And you look at a a cover of a fashion magazine, you see a model that's like perfect to a T, not realizing that that photo has been heavily edited, and it gives us this, you know, this perception that we need to look a certain way to be beautiful, to be perfect, when really that's not the case. And so I want you to show up as imperfect. I want you to show up as more aligned. I want you to show up as who you really are and what you stand for as a leader. Also, shifting from doer to decision maker, right? Being a decision maker is not always easy, especially when you grow up in a culture where every decision was made for you. Like, I grew up in Asian culture, so, I was all the decisions that were made for me was made for me, right? So the first time I made my own decision, it was really hard because I didn't trust myself. I second guessed myself. I would delay it. And so the more we can practice being that decision maker, it really helps us build our confidence. And also letting go the need to prove to others that we're capable. We're more than capable. You're in this position because everybody knows that you have skills and talents that nobody else has. So we need to just stop, proving to others that we're capable because we're more than capable. And so instead of telling yourself, I don't belong here, start telling yourself I was hired to lead here. So your identity really shapes who you are as a leader, what you stand for, what your values are, and when you can show up as yourself, your true self, it does make a huge difference. I know it may sound cliche to say, be authentic, but it is true, right? People will gravitate to you. S is for spotlight, positioning your expertise. Visibility is a skill, not arrogance. Share outcomes and achievements, not just effort. Connect your work to business impact. So again, right? I want you to share your achievements. I want you to share what you've been able to accomplish. Like I mentioned in the beginning, hard work is not enough, right? You can be the most skilled and talented person in the world, but if you're not out there sharing what you were able to accomplish, my biggest concern for you is that someone else is going to take credit for it. And I really don't want that to happen to you because I want you to share that achievement. I want you to take credit for the work that you've done. You put so much effort into it, so much time into it, and it just pains me to see that you'd be you wouldn't be able to put yourself out there or share your outcomes and achievements, right? I know sometimes it could be the upbringing, you're told not to brag, not to share what you've done. It's, not ladylike, and especially when it comes to self-promotion, it's very uncomfortable for women to do that. I totally get it. I was in that same position. But if we don't do that, right? Like for me, self-promotion when done properly is a leadership skill, right? And the more you practice it in a good way, we show others what's possible. Like for me, I promote myself because I want others to see that's possible. I want to help them realize it's okay to share your talents, your products and services, what you were able to accomplish, because that's how we can create change. And the more we can do this together, the less lonely it gets. So if there's anything you want to share, anything you want to spotlight, feel free to share it. Would love to hear it. But yeah, be okay to share your outcomes, achievements, and a simple habit could also be just and updates with results and next steps. So, eyes for inner work, navigating bias and imposter feelings. So, bias often shows up subtly and inconsistently. Imposter feelings increase during growth and change. Inner work builds emotional steadiness and under pressure, right? I think inner work is so important. We really need to work from the inside out, right? And especially when it comes to imposter syndrome, imposter feelings, we all go through moments of doubt, not feeling good enough, feeling like we're too late or too early or it's not the right timing or there's someone better out there. I want you to utilize imposter syndrome or imposter feeling as something positive, right? Especially when you're growing as a leader, when you're taking things to the next level. Guess what? It's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. It's going to be uncomfortable, it's going to be awkward because it's something we've never been before. So it's something that's unknown, and we have to learn to push through it so we can take it to the next level. So the next time you're feeling any kind of imposter syndrome or feeling, just know that it's your time to grow. It's your time to go to the next level. Also, working on yourself, your mindset is really important. People don't realize our mind is like a computer hardware. So, of course, if you input good things, guess what? Your mind is working great or your computer's working great. But when a virus steps in your computer hardware, what would happen, right? Like all these pop-ups come out. Sometimes your files are lost, your computer's not working properly. So you really have to treat your brain the same thing, right? The same way that Feed it good stuff, it works well. If you feed it with a virus, that's when your mindset isn't good. And I'm not saying you have to be positive all the time, right? But at least you have the mindset, the tools, and resources to help you keep moving forward when times are tough. So work on your mindset. Like being here is great. You're able to connect with other people. You're able to connect, learn something new. So key idea is don't fix bias by working harder. You strengthen how you respond to it. Belief, leading with self-doubt. Separate facts from fear-based stories. Trust your expertise even when challenged. Act before confidence feels ready. So reframe with I need more proof to I already have enough to lead, right? Belief is really important because without that belief in yourself, you're not going to go out there and take action, right? You have to know that no matter what happens, you're going to figure it out, even if you have no clue what that looks like, right? And in my book called Bridging the Confidence Gap, I share this framework of ready, fire, aim. So again, ready, fire, aim. So you take action, so you start before you're ready, take action, and course correct as you go. And that's how you can start getting the results. We're going to make mistakes, we're going to fall down, but it helps us learn to pivot to find the result. So each and every one of you have more than enough to go out there and do something great. And I want you to realize that I believe in you, and it's important to also believe in yourself. L is for leverage, expanding influence strategically. So you don't have to do everything alone. Again, you have relationships, tools, and resources to make your life easier. I know as women, we've been taught that, you have to be the superwoman of everything, but that's really exhausting. So, leverage relationships, not just effort. Know when to push and when to align. Use visibility moments intentionally. Ask yourself, where does my voice have the most impact, right? It's not trying to do everything by yourself. Again, you're not the superwoman of everything, and then we need to let go of that. You can utilize relationships, tools, and resources to create the work that you want, right? Like being at this event is great. You can start creating new relationships, learn new tools and resources to make your life easier as well. It's not always about working hard, it's also about working smart because you have your certain talents and other people have certain talents. So if you can learn to work together to leverage that, it just makes things a lot better. And then ease for elevation, right? As you're moving up in your own leadership, it's important to bring everyone with us. That's how we can create more women leaders in tech. So, here's some things you could do. Shift from individual contribution to broader influence. Be known for thinking, not just execution. Position yourself for the next level before you're asked. And the key focus is your work moves people. How your work moves people, teams, and decisions forward, right? So it goes beyond yourself. Again, as you're moving up, it's important to bring everybody with you. That's what leadership is all about. We're going to do this side by side. There's no one in front, behind. We go together. And that's how we can create more women and more women leaders in tech. So I hope you enjoyed the visible framework and feel free to share which one you enjoyed the most. But here's how you can apply this framework as well, right? Voice creates clarity and authority. Identity and belief anchor confidence. Spotlight and leverage expand recognition, and then inner work sustains resilience. This framework is designed for real everyday leadership. So when done together, you become the leader that you're meant to be. It's all about inner and outer work put together so you show up as the best leader in tech. And we want you to be in that position because you earn it, and we have so many other females who want to be in tech, or little girls who want to be in tech, and they can see you do it. You're helping them pave that way. So here's a final takeaway. You don't need to change who you are. You need tools that helps others clearly see your value. Visible leadership is learned and it's yours to claim. So I hope you enjoyed this short presentation. And if you wanted to connect with me, here is my barcode. You can go to all my websites, my social media. I have a visible framework toolkit, my books, my podcasts. And if you wanted a copy of this presentation, there's also a link here, shinayapchan.com/presentations. You add your info and you'll get it straight to your inbox. So again, I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. I hope you learned at least one thing that you can take to to start building more confidence in yourself. You got this. I'm always cheering for you. And I'm going to quickly stop sharing. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this this important topic, especially when it comes to women in tech. We definitely would love to have more women leaders in the tech space because that's how we can create the change we want to see. So again, I hope you enjoyed it and I hope to see you soon and enjoy the rest of the conference.